It's The Real News. I'm Aaron Mate. Donald Trump's path to the White House was paved by his embrace of conspiracy theories, like the claim President Obama was not born in the U.S. and therefore an illegitimate president. But now some of Trump's opponents are falling into the same trap. In liberal circles, the desire for Trump to leave the White House is fueling a culture of online conspiracies. And this is not just random Twitter or chat room users. Its proponents include journalists, political operatives, Pulitzer Prize winners, Hollywood celebrities, and even sitting politicians. Well, my next guest wants it all to stop. Sarah Jones is a social media editor of The New Republic, and she wrote a recent piece called "Stop Promoting Liberal Conspiracy Theories" on Twitter. Sarah, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So tell us about what prompted you to write this, in my opinion, very important piece.
Frustration, mostly. As you correctly noted, of course, Trump's ability to manipulate conspiracy theories and sort of the fears that propel these conspiracy theories is almost certainly one of the reasons behind his campaign success, and arguably, of course, one of the reasons that he's president now. This combined with kind of his ongoing war on facts, ranging from sort of climate denial to everything else, and his war on the media. I'm particularly disappointed to see a corresponding trend among at least the liberal internet.
So let's talk about some of the key players. The most famous one is arguably Louise Mensch, a former British politician, now an executive at News Corp, who has a wide following, has made all kinds of claims, including that Putin murdered the founder of Breitbart, Andrew Breitbart. I believe she also said that the Ferguson protests were partly a Russian operation. Tell us about who she is and what kind of influence she has.
Right. I mean, she's a really interesting figure. She was a conservative member of parliament in the UK, so she's actually not a liberal herself at all. So if you're familiar with British politics or with her record at all, it was very strange to see her sort of rebrand, not necessarily her politics, but sort of become embedded in this particular pocket of the liberal internet that was looking for any sort of impossible theory that could take down Donald Trump. And she has no qualifications to comment on Russian politics or national security or anything of the sort, but she speculates so widely and so broadly that she started to say things that people basically wanted to hear. And I think that was one of the reasons behind her success. And because she was a member of parliament, I think that lent her some air of credibility that she didn't necessarily deserve.
Yeah, and what's amazing is in her campaign to tie Russia to Trump, she's been embraced by prominent Democrats, including Donna Brazile, formerly the head of the DNC. And Donna Brazile tweeted out an article of Louise Mensch and said, "Thank you for good journalism."
Right. I mean, as a journalist, that's extremely frustrating to hear. Because what she's doing isn't actually journalism. It's not reporting at all. None of these people, nobody I mentioned in my piece is doing journalism. And that's a major red flag. If these claims are only appearing on Twitter or on blogs and they haven't been run through a fact-checking project or they aren't, sort of deeply sourced, then that should tell you that this report is at the very least flawed and might be just completely fabricated.
And your piece also points out that it's got to the point where even sitting politicians and their aides are citing these conspiracy theorists on Twitter and citing their claims to make claims about Donald Trump that, of course, that have not been proven.
That's correct. Senator Ed Markey, unfortunately, made that mistake. And I think that was inevitable, the way that things were going, but obviously it is very concerning. It was easier to dismiss this when this was just basically people popping off on Twitter because they do have very real concerns and very real fears, and it's obvious that Trump is corrupt, and it's obvious that there is some sort of Russian connection at this point. And people are desperate for answers. But when it starts to pop up in statements that are made by sitting politicians, people you would expect and hope would know better, then that's a major cause for concern.
Yeah, your piece cites journalists like Sarah Kendzior, who has a huge following, and now even appears in the on major media outlets like MSNBC. So, and Louise Mensch, who we talked about before, she was published in the New York Times on the op-ed page there. So, in terms of getting attention for one's own personal brand, it's become advantageous to embrace conspiracy theories, no matter how specious.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. And I think, it is because people are so desperate to, hear that there is one cool trick for taking down Donald Trump. We all want to believe that that's true. And of course, that's fertile ground for people who want to set themselves up as an expert in this way. And I would just caution people to exercise sort of an unusual amount of caution, maybe.
It's very easy and dangerous to armchair psychoanalyze, but I have to think that one factor behind why this is so popular is that it's people are, as you say, so scared of Trump, and so people want answers easily. And it's easy just to hold on to some kind of outlandish theory that might get rid of him, rather than take on the hard work it takes to be, involved politically as an activist or as a citizen just engaged in politics. It's challenging.
It is very challenging, and I'm not sure you can totally get away from sort of this psychological analysis a little bit, because we are talking about politics, right? And that's wrapped up into it. And I think what I would just tell people is that, you aren't wrong to think that the system is rigged, right? It is rigged and it is corrupt, and Donald Trump is corrupt, and it is big and scary. And you are right to be concerned about it. But it's going to take years of sustained hard work to undo the damage that he has done and to sort of fight the ideology that is coalescing around him. It's not going to be one of Eric Garland's mega Twitter threads that really takes him down. It's going to be the hard work of, supporting progressive candidates, maybe running for office yourself, but most of all, boosting reporting that it is well-sourced and is accurate and has been through this fact-checking process so that you are promoting facts and not fabrications.
Well, on that point, I have to note that Mother Jones just received, I think, $250,000 from a major funder towards a new news project geared towards uncovering Trump's connections to Russia and Russian influence on our politics. So that's a reflection, at least, of where one segment of the liberal media, the progressive media, is going with its reporting and funding choices. Final comments, Sarah, as we wrap up this segment on why we should stop promoting liberal conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I would just urge people to think before they retweet. Kind of in my post, I list a few guidelines just to keep in mind as you're navigating the internet right now. And I would just, urge people to think carefully about who they're promoting. I would urge them to have high standards for the people that they're anointing as experts, and to really look at their credentials and their body of work to see if they, have a claim to be an expert in that field. And yeah, just to make sure that you are boosting real reporting and real journalism, and to remember that it's more important than ever to make sure that you are sort of spreading truth and facts.
Sarah Jones, social media editor of The New Republic, her recent piece, Stop Promoting Liberal Conspiracy Theories, on Twitter. Sarah, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on The Real News.